Nothing, just I would say the opposite of a typical Monday. So sitting here at home.
Well, here's the thing. So for those who are tuning in right now, guys, if you can hear what we're saying, type in the comments section, hello, just let us know that you're here. So Justin, he's going to go into his bio here, but Justin is he is a practicing attorney. He's the president of MB2, which is the partnership group that I'm a part of. And, a few days ago, Justin, I called you up and I had all these questions. We spoke for an hour because I'm like, what am I going to do? Like with my team, what's legal, what's not legal? What about if I'm, practicing and, can I get in trouble with that? Can I get sued by my patients? Can I get sued by my staff? All these legal questions. And you took, you spent like an hour talking to me. And I was telling you, I was like, man, I am so thankful you. And you told me something that was really funny. You're like, you're like the 10th doctor I talked to today. And so I just want to say I am so grateful for MB2, just with all the support and your support. I mean, that's the great thing about being in the group. But are you still having people kind of reach out to you, the MB2 group, asking questions, legal questions?
Yeah, I mean, this morning, last night, I think, yesterday was a flurry of activity with some of at least in Texas, with the state board and Governor Abbott and County of Dallas. So yeah, lots, but that's kind of what we're here for.
Yeah, no. And so, like I said, that I'm so appreciative of you guys. But, before we go any further, and guys, I am going to put this crawler up here. And that is, if you have any questions, just fire away. I'm going to look at that. I'll post it to Justin. But Justin, can you just give everyone like your background? Because they probably don't know you like I know you and all the other docs at MB2. But can you kind of, give a little quick bio, your bio?
Yeah, so I am an accountant and an attorney, I guess, by training, which is, basically, I would say 2 of the 3 most boring and most hated kind of professions. So, it's a good start. But no, so I came out of law school and just started helping dentists kind of one by one, just through friends, through connections, through family, and led ultimately kind of into getting involved in the DSO space. I met Dr. V and kind of fell in love with the model, and I've been at MB2 now about, I guess coming up on 7 years. So.
Yeah. And I mean, it's so great to be in a group that supports us like that. And, you're the president of the MB2 now, but also, we also have, you're not the only attorney that's working there. We have a couple of other attorneys that support us as well, right?
Yeah. Thankful to all of y'all. We definitely, I'm not the only attorney. It's a good thing for y'all. But now we have 2 other attorneys on staff. We have also chief compliance officer. We have 2 professors that help us out on the other side. So that kind of blends into the legal and compliance department. So Dr. Mash, y'all know her from Baylor.
Yeah, it's so helpful. But guys, you know what? We don't mess around, Nifty Thrifty Dentist. I figure I just bring the head guy. So Justin's here. So again, Justin, thank you so much for jumping on. So let's just dive right into it. And guys, if you have any questions, and man, we got a lot of people watching. You know what? Invite your friends. I think we have about 100 people watching right now. Let's get that number up because there's so many questions, so much value you're going to get from this live stream. And again, thank you, Justin, for jumping on. I know you're super busy. You're answering all our questions, and there's over 200 of us doctor owners there that you have to deal with. But let's jump right into it. And the biggest thing that has been going to you is what's going on in Texas. Guys, if you're from Texas, type in the comments section. I'm in Texas. Where are you from? So we can kind of know how many other Texans are here. But I practice in Denton, which is a little bit north from you, Justin. And, there's a big thing that just happened yesterday. Governor Abbott just dropped a huge announcement saying that we can only practice dentistry in an emergency setting, right? Like only emergencies. But that was really vague because then he said life-threatening, right? And I mean, that is that's so vague. So Justin, what have you been telling all the other Texas doctors?
Yeah, I think kind of first is know that it is confusing. I mean, I think it's been very poor across, states, counties, dental associations, because I think it's not consistent. And I think when you have that, it's everyone going, well, what do? I want to do the right thing for my patients, for my profession, but I don't know what that is. And so, yesterday is a good example because what's happening in Texas is very similar. We have resources for other states, which I know we're putting up online for at MB2 to help just anyone. But
Yeah.
Even just yesterday, in about a 2-hour span, Governor Abbott basically issued, like you said, an emergency procedures. He convoluted it and said life-threatening, which immediately goes, what does life-threatening mean? Does that mean today? Does that mean for the next, as long as the ban is in place, which is 3 weeks? And so I think that's when you kind of start going down the path of, where are they getting at? And I've been telling doctors, ultimately, what they're trying to do is to keep the hospitals clear, right? You keep hearing that, preserve PPE and don't put a strain on the hospital. So I think I keep telling above everybody else, that's what they're trying to get at. Everyone's rushing through and typing out stuff and saying stuff on, press conferences. And I think, we saw it in Texas within minutes. The state board put out something saying, we acknowledge what Governor Abbott said, but, it also said you need to see emergency patients so they don't clog up.
And it is so confusing because they acknowledge what Governor Abbott said.
Yep.
And then they said, okay, but you got to see emergency still. So we're like, okay. And everyone's in all the forums. It's crazy. Their definition of emergency is so different, right? Yeah. And life-threatening means like you're about to die. That's how I take it. You are about to die. Okay. But then we also know that if we don't take care of a tooth that is infected, right, that could lead to you're about to die. Okay. Yeah. But it doesn't mean that you're about to die right then and there. And I think that's what the confusion is. And I think, so what is your advice to docs who I gave you that same scenario. Like what is your advice to us? Because we want to do the right thing. And we also don't want to go to jail.
Yeah, no, I mean, I get it. I mean, I think
Justin, Harvey Weinstein got coronavirus in jail. So even people in jail are not safe.
Yeah, I still don't know how he got a test and whatever. But yeah, Harvey's in a bad spot. So, but no, I think you're kind of seeing it, right? Governor Abbott talked about life-threatening, which I think if you look at the actual written verbiage of the order, it leaves that out a little bit. I mean, it's confusing. You have, ultimately it's what if not treated, could this lead to someone going to the hospital? That seems to be the one thing federally, state-wise, that almost every body of governance can agree upon. And so that's kind of, to me, the most conservative thing. Because, we have in Dallas County, an hour later, basically issue a shelter in place, which sounds very scary because that covers everybody. And what that means is essentially if you're not an essential business, which dental is one, then don't leave. And so we got questions. Well, my staff can't come to work, and no, they can come to work because we are an essential business. Mm-hmm. But it was further kind of diluted by we are an essential business that can only be open for essential procedures, which again, that goes out, the ADA put out something that kind of gave some guidelines about what is an emergency, but it's basically kind of what you said is if left untreated, which means, an abscess, a broken tooth, a denture not placed, it can be, so many different ideas that could someone eventually go to the hospital and clog up a bed for someone who needs it for COVID-19.
Well, and I think that's some great advice there. And so basically, guys, what Justin had just told us right now is if it's something that could lead them to going to the hospital, that is considered an emergency. Now, can not getting a cleaning lead you to the hospital? Probably not, right? And so if it gets down to it, right, if for some reason there's a whistleblower incident in your practice, right? Because, look, the city, the county, they don't have time to go into our offices and patrol. Okay. They got bigger things to deal with. Okay. The only issue I see is if there's like a whistleblower incident in your practice, someone like one of your team members, maybe they're mad or something, or maybe they don't agree with you and they report you. Well, you just need to be able to defend what you just did. Okay. Yeah. You came in there and you did some Zoom whitening. That's not going to fly. Okay. Someone has a broken tooth. You can make an argument there. So would you say that's kind of a safe assessment there? Just going to approach it that way?
Yeah, no, I think so. Because, you have these weird legal terms being thrown out of a recommendation, a mandate. but I think kind of to prevent what you're worried about is I've been telling them since day one, ask your staff. If any staff member is uncomfortable, they should not, they shouldn't come to work no matter what it is, because these are unprecedented times. Everyone's opinion it sounds crazy, but everyone's opinion is right to a certain extent here.
Justin, I'm just going to warn you right now. There's like at least 50 questions here that I need to get to. But before, guys, I will get to your questions, okay? Like I said, Justin's been nice enough to kind of give us some of his time. He's busy dealing with all of us at MB2. But before I get to those questions, I want to ask some questions that many people have already asked me, and that is, can we get sued by our patients if they get coronavirus? Can we get sued by our team if they get coronavirus at our practice?
Yeah, so I always tell everyone we get this question a lot. You can get sued for anything because lawyers suck and they can file suit for anything. We'll win. No, I think, in all seriousness, the likelihood of any of this, if you follow, the proper guidelines, which again is on a staff level of don't come in if you're not comfortable. It's a clinician's decision as the business owner to open and to see those patients. But if a staff member is not comfortable, you cannot fire them for that. It's not, job abandonment, which typically would be in a normal non-coronavirus world. So I think it is very small so long as you are not forcing it upon them. And look, the patients we've recommended, you can add to your consents. You can, do some things to try to protect you. But ultimately, it's really hard, for them to sue you because of you'd have to prove they got the coronavirus at your office, that you were negligent in your preparation, not using, PPE, basically being completely reckless, which again, I think it's very rare. And if you take it to a public policy level, people, healthcare professionals like y'all are the ones, to be honest, putting yourselves in danger. And that, typically courts and judges side, with healthcare professionals on that.
Yeah. And just to kind of add on to that, we have this doctor saying, hey, I made all my patients so that, and staff sign a consent before working and being treated. Does that help?
Yeah, I think it does. You always want on a patient level, it absolutely does, because they're there completely voluntarily, right? On a staff level, I kind of tend to get a little uneasy sometimes if you're forcing them to sign it. Now, so long as it's on their will and it's more of an acknowledgement, then I think it's fine. And I think it does add a small layer of protection, especially makes you sleep at night a little easier knowing that.
Yeah. And so, this is a pretty popular question that the biggest questions that I asked Justin and so many of us at MB2 are asking him is about, the unemployment and what are we going to do with our staff and all these different things. So I'm going to put this one question up. There's a lot of these questions. So hopefully as we answer, we go through what MB2 did, is going to answer a lot of your questions. But let me put this one question here. And that is, this doctor's asking, can you explain the unemployment option for the office staff? Who should it apply? Who does it cover? How does it work? W-2 versus 1099. There's a whole bunch of questions all layered in there. So Justin, if we can just kind of go through all of that, and hopefully that'll answer most of the questions. Yeah,
I think, to start, look at your practice. Most practices typically have two types of employees: salary and hourly, which is another word for, non-exempt and exempt as far as the federal guidelines, which it's not always the case. There can be some hourly that are exempt and vice versa. But for the most part, you have salary and hourly. Mm-hmm. So I've been saying in general right now, everybody should apply for unemployment. Typically, call it 2 weeks ago, you could only apply for unemployment if you, in Texas at least, and every state has pretty much adopted the same things, but you can only apply if you were terminated or laid off completely. All the states have kind of rushed to this, seeing what's happening with coronavirus, and have allowed for hourly what's called a reduction in hours, even to zero. And the good part about this is this allows you the option to keep their benefits. It makes the rehire process much easier. And there's an equivalent for salary, which you hear the word furlough, which is a nice way of saying laid off with the intention to rehire. But they're basically allowing salary employees the same benefit. You can put them on furlough. You can even reduce their salary, and they can still apply for unemployment. We've called the unemployment offices and asked, hey, what do we do? And I've had numerous different offices in Texas and Arkansas, other states, just say, apply. we're going to approve everyone. We know it's trying times, which typically, by the way, getting through any of these offices is, it's a freaking mess. I'll just use my PC language. It's a mess.
Yeah.
And so I do think everyone kind of has their antennas up right now saying, we want to help. And so, everyone should apply. Doctors should apply, even if, we get a lot. Well, I'm paid on.
And let me ask you this. I mean, I'm going to put this on here. This doctor up in Austin, and thank you so much for this question. He's asking, well, do independent contractors get unemployment benefits?
Yeah, so it depends on kind of your arrangement with your employer. So typically, no. Right now, they're being told to go ahead and apply for some relief. And so I would say yes, apply. It's going to be state by state. It's a harder burden to prove when you're not, when you're 1099. But they basically, even for doctors, they're going to look at your wages over the 3 of the last 4 quarters and kind of average it out. Because we've gotten questions there for a doctor saying, well, I make different amounts every 2 weeks. And so my SOL essentially? And the answer is no. They have ways to go about it and get an average. And each state has caps and maximums you can make. But, Texas is depending on the circumstances, between about, $500 and $600 a week.
And, like I said, we got more employment. You hit a hot topic here, but, before we go to others' questions, I have to let everyone know that, Justin actually has a fan club, and they're here today in full force. And, we have Doc Hopper, Justin Puckett, maybe the best kept secret of the MB2 partners, free legal advice. And evidently he never sleeps. And I can attest to that because I text messaged him like at midnight the other day about a random legal question, and he answered. So, and we got another one right here, which is, JP. Well, whoever wrote that, very articulate. Thank you so much for that. And then, okay, so let's jump back right into the questions here. And this is another one here. Can owners of dental practice apply for unemployment?
Yeah.
Like if they have a PLC, this is a PLC that's in Washington.
Yeah. The big test here is that if you're, as an owner, if you also pay yourself any type of wages, that can be either guaranteed wages in certain state, W-2 wages. If you pay yourself anything outside of just straight profit distributions, you absolutely can apply for unemployment, which again is one of the kind of the rare things that states are rushing to right now.
Wow. No, that's great. That's great to hear. I hope you guys heard that there. We have we got some more employment, so we're going to just keep going in here. Okay, so if we lay off employees, will we be eligible for the tax break that's coming in the new bill?
Yeah, the first answer is the bill is not approved yet. It was actually, I think it was in the Senate last night and it got rejected. But everything.
And we're not going to talk about why it got rejected, right? We're not going to get into that, right?
I stay out of politics stuff. But,
okay, so it's rejected. But as far as his questions, with that next.
Everyone is saying that yes, they are going. They're basically going to give a 2-week grace period in this, where even if you laid off an employee already due to the business circumstances, if you're eligible, you can rehire them and I guess comply with the rules. And even on the unemployment stuff, typically unemployment does come back to the employer in some way, form, or fashion through an unemployment rate, which depends by state. But the government has also said, although they haven't figured out how they're going to do this, that they're also going to take off that burden from the employer sometime here in the future, via credits or via reimbursement. We don't know yet, but they've all said they will do that.
Okay. And I'm going to need you to put your CPA hat back on. I know you've been having their attorney hat on, but I'm going to need you to put your CPA hat on just for a little bit. And this doctor's saying, well, my CPA said no on owner unemployment, even if you are W-2.
Yeah, well, always trust your own CPA. They're smarter than lawyers. But I think it depends on, we could spend an hour about going through the legalities of, are you a PLLC versus a PC? Are you taxed as an S corp? There are things that can delineate that. Plus, you have the whole other barrier of what state are you in. Mm-hmm. I tell everyone right now, apply. It does not hurt to apply. Yeah. The worst thing is you're going to get money, and you can. The IRS has even said they're flexible right now, because if you trick up some election that you've made, on your legal entity, I think right now again, everything is on the table. just because this is truly the most unprecedented time we've seen. So everyone should apply.
Wow. And, we are going to go over other things, guys. If you have other questions other than your staffing and unemployment, all those things, put those questions. We're answering all the legal questions here. Right now, it's just the unemployment benefits, all that is a hot topic. So we're going to go through that. I just want to let everyone know we're going to talk about other things as well. If you have questions, please type in the comments section. And if you really like what you're hearing right now, if you appreciate what Justin's doing here, type in the comments section, Justin, show him some love. Or Justin or MB2. He's got a little fan club already. He loves it. Type in MB2 or Justin, any of those things. Show us some love here. Okay, so we have another question here, and then it says, okay, if the staff has filed for unemployment, and then you have to go into the office to see an emergency, and you need an assistant, how does that work?
Yeah, so unemployment is looked at on a week-by-week basis based on your payroll cycle. And so, kind of as I mentioned earlier, every state, for the most part, it's allowing for a reduction in hours qualification. So 1 week, your hours may be 0, and it's they'll put that into the formula that qualifies for unemployment, and you'll get the X dollars. Well, the next week, if you work 4 hours in one day because someone had a broken tooth, you still get paid those, but you still qualify for unemployment. It'll just be a little bit less because you have made some wages.
Okay. And then, here's another one too. Very interesting. Also from Austin, Texas. Yeah, he's down in Austin, getting very creative here. So Austin, Texas here. Can you pay your employee for food, like Venmo? Can we get credit for that?
I'm assuming credit means like tax wise, or yes. Just keep track of it, send it to your CPA. It's a business expense.
Expense, right?
Yeah, we've got a ton of our owners, as you know, every owner's different. Saying I'm coming out of pocket for this employee, or I'm doing this and that, and we've said, just keep track of everything. We still ultimately, as everyone can tell, stuff is changing by the hour. No one knows what the heck's going on. If they do, they're lying. And so just keep track of everything. And, when things calm down, I think you're going to see more leniency than ever before from kind of everybody, whether that's to your landlord, to the bank, to the government.
Well, you know what? We're going to go down that little path right now. And I'm going to put this question up because we had just talked about this before we jumped on. There's so many, like I said, I am so lucky to be part of MB2. They've been supporting us and supporting me with information and keeping practice going and whatnot. But unfortunately, not everyone is in a DPO like MB2. A lot of people are kind of still out by themselves. And I talked to you, Justin, about, there's going to be some hard times coming up. Being able to pay your bills, being able to pay your rent. And I was telling you about, what are the rights? What are our rights as practice owners? So let's just dive right into that. Let's start with the kind of like the scary thing is, and that's your rights as a tenant. Okay. If you're behind in your rent, can you basically get your doors locked and get the boot out of there? What are our rights, and what should practice owners be looking at right now?
Yeah, I think, typically it's always go look at your lease, but, I was even talking to some outside counsel that we use in New York, large law firm. He kind of was around for 9/11. He was around for the 2008 crisis, the 80s oil, fallout. And what he used the term, everything is on the table right now. I think we've advised people that I would not pay rent right now just because you do not know how long this thing is going to last. I think that's been the hardest. People want advice, but it's so tough because no one knows how long this goes. So right now you do have a preservation of cash problem. And, my advice to when you go to the landlord, do not say that you're not going to pay. Do not say that you can't pay, because I won't go down legal dorkage, but you can kind of get to some anticipatory breach provisions. But right now, ultimately they're not going to have a ton of choice here. It's truly is an unprecedented time, and it'll flow uphill because then the landlord can't pay the bank, and bank, you can kind of feel it. But right now, landlords, we've done it ourselves, and in your practice, everyone's practice. And I would say, for the most part, landlords are being very flexible. I think they get it, and ultimately, if a landlord's playing extremely tough and you want to do it, that's a tougher conversation. But again, you also look at. Typically, you have to, someone's evictions are being suspended by counties all the time. Dallas County, part of the bill yesterday was no evictions. And so,
Wow, really?
to get an eviction, you have to get a justice of the peace
Right.
officer to do it. They're not working. Courts are closed.
Wow.
So it's times that no one can have ever guessed for. So, I mean, right now, just landlords are forced to be a little flexible at own choice.
Yeah, and it's not like they're going to evict you and there's another person coming in right away.
Yeah, I mean, no one's moving in. And it flows down to, we've had just staff, employees, and friends ask about their own apartments or the mortgages. I mean, I think it's no different there.
So let's kind of backtrack a little bit. And so if someone is they're concerned about their cash flow and they can't make the rent, what is the best way to approach the landlord? I mean, obviously you already said don't tell them you're not going to pay, and number two, don't tell them you can't pay. So what's the best way to approach it? Because like I said, I'm so thankful for MB2. They actually told us, all the owner doctors, that they're sending letters out to all our landlords to kind of work something out. So we're lucky that you guys are doing that. But for those who are kind of out on their own, what's the best practice to approach that?
Yeah, I think it's, and I'm happy to share kind of our template. We just have said, hey, look, we are essentially, our business is being asked to shut down. We don't even go into the emergencies part, but it's being asked to shut down. We're basically going on a zero revenue plan. And so, this is unprecedented times. Can you have some flexibility? We've asked for either suspension of the rent or deferment to the end of the term. And, just try to kind of, I always say, we're asking for forgiveness essentially first, without saying, we're not going to or we can't. And, landlords have been very understanding so far.
Yeah, no, that's great. Okay. So, like I said, if you guys have any other questions as far as your rights as a tenant, type it in the comments section. But I'll tell you right now, all the questions are heading back to the unemployment stuff. So let's get right back to it. So let me go ahead and post some questions here. One of my good friends, Dr. Gonzalez down in Dallas, Jose, good to see you again, man. I already told you, man, you really need to reach out to these guys. These guys are the real deal. He's got a few practices in Dallas, and he asked you this. The Dallas mandate, right, was basically you non-essential businesses closed and pretty much shelter in place. He wants to know if he can have a team member in the office to make phone calls. Is like, would that be in violation of the Dallas mandate?
Yeah, the way I read it, which right now the Dallas County is, and it's crazy, but it's more strict than Governor Abbott's address yesterday. And we are for the Dallas County. If you look at the order passed, we are an essential business. Dental is an essential business. And so I think if you have an employee there who is there to see those emergency patients, which, again, if they're there, they're allowed to do other stuff. I'm making this up. Clean up old things, do AR, answer the phones. Yes, you're absolutely allowed to. I mean, dental is actually specifically listed as we are one of the business allowed to open. Now, it does say please only do procedures that are basically non-elective in emergencies.
And we're going to go back to this because we have a lot of Texans on here. And he already answered this, but we're going to do it again, okay? Because I see so many requests for this. And how do you interpret Governor Abbott's address yesterday? Governor Abbott being the governor of the great state of Texas. So again, Justin, your interpretation of what he said, dental-wise.
Yeah, I mean, dental-wise, I think always what he said was also different than what was written by him or by his attorneys. But no, it said, if you look at the big thing, it's all about the preservation of PPE and mostly the hospital. He kept bringing it up. It's the strain on the hospitals. Mm-hmm. And so what I take that is with every decision you're making, that's what should be going through your head is, definitely if you look, even like I said, the state board put out one of their sentences. They said, we as dental professionals must and should see the emergency patients because we do not want them to go to the hospital and call the ER or go to the ER or whatever. And so, I think, again, I wish Governor Abbott would have worded things a little more clear about what an emergency means. But, he didn't. He used the term life-saving, life-threatening. And so, those are, again, and I think you have to look at it in the time frame of the total ban. It's not just today, because if a problem is there today that won't be, if it's getting worse and worse, and I'm not a clinician, so I know nothing about this, but if it's going to get worse and worse, you need to fix it now. So again, it doesn't, in the next 3 weeks, someone go to the hospital because of that.
And really we just kind of talked about that earlier. The best kind of rule of thumb is if this leads to hospitalization, okay, not you're going to hospital tomorrow. Like if this leads to it, they would want us to take care of it, because if not, you're going to clog up the whole hospital. So that's the whole point of Governor Abbott's, announcement.
And I think one thing on that, Dr. Bo, is that you also, and I saw a question pop up of like, well, what about the State Dental Association? I think one thing this has shown very, very clearly is your state's dental association does not govern you. It does not govern dental offices. Same with the ADA. Every state it's been recommendations. Like to have full power, they have to have government adoption alongside of it to go into a mandate. And so, ultimately, I think dentists have always been raised to, the state board governs everything. But right now, I personally wish they were being more clear and more blunt.
Sure.
But they're not. They're intentionally being vague, and they're intentionally being vague because they're funded by the state, and they also have allegiances to the ADA too. But Governor Abbott overrules anything the state board says.
Yeah, and I made a joke about it, but I was somewhat serious in another group. The ADA can't put you in jail, but Governor Abbott can.
It's true.
Right. Okay, so we got another question here, and this is going down to the litigation stuff, right? The stuff that we love to think about. That is there any possibility of litigation or other consequences against your individual dental license if you're, and this is so long, I'll have to read it off here. It comes off here. If your associate is seeing patients on an emergency basis without proper PPE. So let me read that again. Can you get sued if your associate is seeing emergency patients without the proper PPE?
Yeah, I know. I don't think I have not seen anything that mandates, again, versus recommends that you must use. Now, I do think at this point, and I would just use the common sense.
Right.
I'm not going to say it's negligence, but it borders on, at least recklessness. If if your staff is not wearing masks or gloves, just the standard universal precaution that you'll always do as clinicians. And that's, if you're an associate, it's still your license, and it's not your owner's license. It's not, whoever's license, it's your license. So, you should be comfortable, with universal precaution that you always take. And I think that is where you would get in some gray area if you were, if you were doing dental without, mask or gloves or whatever the exact scenario may be.
And, we have something interesting from our friends up in Pennsylvania. And this doctor saying that Governor Wolf ruled out emergencies too. Yeah. He said procedures need to be done in a negative pressure room, which none of the dental practices or schools have.
Yeah, the only person who can overrule him is our president, and which he's not going to do. But the governor rules, right? It's kind of like, everyone's little back to 8th grade history is, you have your local government, then your state government, then your federal government. And so, I saw that, he said that, and who knows the intention of that is how it reads.
And that's another thing to think about too, right? Because we've been talking about things are going on in Texas, because I'm in Texas, Jess is in Texas, but it really depends on where you're at and what your local government says, right? That is the number one rule right there, what the local government says, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so for those of you who failed government, like I said, Justin can help you out with that. Not from a federal level, but on a state, even county, city level, you need to look at that. Okay, so we just have Gabe just put up this here. MB2 has a lot of resources available for everybody. You don't have to be part of MB2. That has a lot of these things to navigate the coronavirus. So Gabe, thank you so much for putting that in there. Okay, so we have a lot more questions here, but before I go on, thank you so much for the shout out. Thanks, Glenn and Justin. Hey, Dr. V just says that's a company man right there. That's for sure. Okay. And then also, I'll ask you this because we had talked about it. This doctor said, could you please share that template to a letter to the landlord? Is that something that you guys can provide?
Yeah, we can definitely do that.
Awesome.
Yeah, so I'll send it to you after this.
Okay, great. Yes. Oh, so guys, when I get that letter, I'll post that and I'll send it to you guys there. And
I think on that, it can be tailored to other vendors, right? That's the big one for most private offices is the Bank of America, whoever else may be. Which separately, I've heard they're being great so far.
Yeah,
I know Bank of America Practice Solutions. I've heard they're being deferring things, and I think most go out to all your vendors. You have this more than ever now. It's just like be a partner. Like that's how kind of MB2 operates, but that's how you should ask your vendors. What can I know? Lighthouse 360 I've heard is like reducing their fees to $1 a month. And so we're trying every dollar we can preserve right now. That's eventually going to keep the viability of our practice, which ultimately that's how we get staff back. So that's kind of every decision we're trying to make right now is with that long-term viability in mind, so we can have a place for the staff to come back to and go about our business as usual.
And I just want to let you know again, like I said, there's a lot of people that are saying thank you and stuff. And guys, if you love what you're hearing, if you appreciate Justin jumping on, type in the comments section MB2. Okay, type in the comments section MB2. He's the president of MB2. That's the DPO that I'm a part of. Like I said, all this stuff that you're getting right now, I got that over the weekend. We had a talk for an hour, and so appreciative of you doing that for me, Justin. And that's why I wanted to bring him on, because I know a lot of you guys are scared and have questions. So he's here. So again, type in the comment section MB2 to show him some love. And also if you have more questions, but we're going to go to Justin. You ready to get to a hot topic, man?
Let's
ready,
go.
man. I mean, not that the stuff that we've been talking about aren't hot topics, but this is a pretty hot topic because we have a lot of team members in our group. We have an all-inclusive group. It's not just dentists. It's hygienists, it's dental assistants, it's vendors, it's consultants. Everybody's welcome here because everyone brings something positive to the table. And a lot of team members have reached out to me. They're like, Dr. Vo, like, I don't know what to do here, but I feel like uncomfortable going into work, and they're saying I have to go to work or else I'm going to get fired and all these things. And I just tell them, I was like, look, at the end of the day, what I do in my practice is I tell everyone, I was like, look, it's voluntary. If you don't feel comfortable doing something, we'll move forward from there. But I'm not forcing anyone there. But I saw a bunch of stuff online that really bothered me because MB2 is a DPO. It's a partnership organization, right? It's not like any of these other DSOs. And these other groups are saying, oh, well, I work for a DSO and they're forcing me to work. And I was like, what the heck, And so, Justin, let me ask you that, man. Because from a legal standpoint, when someone says, I work for a corporate entity and they're making me work, I don't have a choice. Let's talk about that. Let's talk about rights as an employee.
Yeah, I mean, I've heard those things too, which I think is bad for our whole industry. And, ironically, as a non-clinician, I mean, it probably infuriates me even more, but no one can make you work. I mean, this isn't this is 2020 here. They cannot force you to work. And especially right now, a lot of these laws, right, basically they're making coronavirus essentially apply to like FMLA is typically, which, gives you even more rights than you have. No one is, if you feel uncomfortable, don't go to work. Whether you're an RDA to a dentist, you have a license. Yeah. And that's your own license that it has your name on it, not your practice's name or your owner's name. And, it's take out whatever's by law as well. The public perception of, and that's what judges all, go down to outside of case law is they're not, you want to be protective of your employees right now because it's a scary time. I mean, people don't know, they don't know how bad the virus is. They don't know, how long this is going to last. And so you definitely have rights. They cannot force you to work. And, for employers out there, it's like I think I've said it a few times, make sure your employees are genuinely comfortable being there for whatever reason.
Yeah, because that goes down some legal issues that you don't want to get involved with, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and so just to let you guys know, because there's so much misinformation out there, about as far as corporate dentistry and whatnot. And I always tell people, they're like, well, they reach out to me, they're like, man, is MB2 making you do this stuff? I'm like, no, they're not. There's a reason why I joined MB2. It's a dental partnership organization. And we don't even like to use the word DSO, and it's because it's not who we are. We partner with each other. There's a bunch of group of dentists that we're working with each other, and every practice has autonomy. Justin, you've sent out a memo. They're like, look, at the end of the day, if you want to close your office, you don't feel comfortable seeing even emergencies, we're cool with it. We're here to support. We're here to give you all the information. So a lot of misinformation out there. But at the end of the day, if you're a team member who's watching right now, if you don't feel comfortable, then just go with your gut. No one can force you to do anything. And if you are in a situation that you're facing that, message me. I'll talk to Justin on my end. We got your back. We want you to do really well. And hey, at the end of the day, if you don't feel comfortable where you're at, you can always work for MB2. Okay, so we got a lot of requests for this letter, guys. Okay, I might have I might have to post it in the group because there's
fine. Yeah, we can just give me like 2 minutes.
What I'm going to do is I'm actually going to take everyone's email. I'm going to send you all my Nifty Thrifty stuff. Just joking. I'm not going to do that to you guys. Okay, so we got some more questions here. I got to kind of shift through all these requests for the letter and all the MB2s. Thank you so much, guys. If you like what you're hearing, type in the comment section again, MB2. Okay, so let's go back to the employment stuff. Just to confirm, we should fire our staff or not, because they can still apply for unemployment when they experience a drop in their hours.
Yeah, so they can apply for unemployment whether you fire them or reduce their hours. So that's kind of the difference of basically the question. I think what they're getting at is, should I fire or should I reduce their hours, right? Because they can apply for unemployment regardless. The benefits to the employee and employer of reducing hours even to zero is that if they have benefits, meaning healthcare, et cetera, through the employer, they can keep it versus being put on COBRA, which COBRA is, it's kind of a pain as well. It's more expensive. So that's kind of the benefit. I know that most, like you've gotten our emails, that's kind of what, a lot of our offices are trying to do, as well as it makes the rehire process much easier, less paperwork, less minutia. So hopefully that answers that. But they can apply for unemployment regardless of the decision you make. And I saw another question of like everyone's going. April 2nd is the big date for this the Coronavirus Relief Act. Basically, there's a grace period from when it was passed last week. That's the big date. And so people are I think you're seeing this Congress and the Senate act right now because a lot of that basically what it does is it goes into you have to pay sick leave for your employees if you qualify, as well as an additional 10 weeks of FMLA, which is 2/3 of the rate coverage, which I can go into more details if you want. But that would crush a lot of employers. I mean, people don't have that cash flow. Yeah. So a lot of what's being proposed right now in the Senate is, that will be to help that. But you do have until April 2nd to reverse course or change your course on, whatever that may be with your employees.
Okay. And speaking of employees, we're going to shift the gears a little bit to associate. And that is, what about an associate who has just hired? If you have a contract for daily salary and the practice is closed, what is the obligation?
Yeah, this is real. We've had people who had the great timing of starting last week. Ultimately, look at the contract like always, I think. But right now, if there's kind of like back to your landlord, if the office is closed, the option is you terminate the contract this is, and there's legal provisions that are, I won't go down the path called like force majeure and acts of God, other things that, basically give you out sometimes. But right now, we just approach it as it's just unprecedented timing. Yeah. If the office is closed, it kind of does make it null and void, and just, you got to be flexible on that. Because if not, you don't have a business to go back to. Yeah.
That's really good advice there. And another thing here, and this in terms of benefits, this doctor, I pay my employees gym and medical allowance. Do I still pay that while they are on unemployment?
Yeah. If you terminate them or lay them off, then no, you do not. That's when it's kicked over to federal, which is COBRA. If you reduce their hours to 0, it is your option, not your obligation, to continue to do that.
Okay. And then we have another employment question, a lot of employment questions here. Okay. So can you reduce hours to 32 hours and still have them apply for unemployment? Or does it have to be a reduction of hours to be officially a reduction of hours to part-time to make it official?
Now, like I know, like Colorado, for example, their reduction in hours provision for the state says you have to go below 32, meaning there's no help if you go from 40 to 32. But, in Texas, you can, right now, it doesn't matter what you go to, it's all formula based. So if you were only to go down a few hours, you're not going to get much unemployment benefit. Okay. It's all based on a formula.
Okay. And then this is from a good friend of mine, George Wang, Dr. Wang from Dallas. George, hello. What's up, man? I know you've been waiting for this to be asked, so I'll do this for you. He said, I heard the employer can file for unemployment for staff and that would speed things up. So as far as reduced hours, do I still need to apply for the staff? Yeah.
So, employers can't apply for unemployment because it's an employee benefit. I think what he's getting at and what we've done is what can we do to make it faster and easier for the employee?
Right.
Typically, when you go at employment, if you all are owners, you own practices, the Workforce Commission comes back to you and you have an opportunity to challenge that. We are providing letters up front to say, don't even bother, don't ask us, we're not challenging it, we're not, please approve now,
And we have this, I think, from a team member, and she says, I was just hired, waiting on my 90 days to be up, and I got let go. So what are her options?
Yeah, so typically this would fall outside of that. I would say I haven't seen the exact specifications on, and it depends which state he or she is in. I would, like I've kind of reiterated, apply still. I think it does not hurt or cost you anything to apply. So still apply and see if they're being flexible on that as well.
Would you say that? Would you say that during these unprecedented times that they would be a little bit more flexible in some of these roles?
We always, some people on my team, we call. We have our HR department. They call the states and try to basically secret shop. And the change of attitude, of tone, of flexibility it's so blatant already.
Wow. Well, that's hopefully they will do that and really help us out because, man, it's scary times. And, guys, I want y'all to let you know that Justin's really busy working with us at MB2. I mean, he's got docs asking him questions all the time. So, Justin, again, I want to thank you for jumping on. I really appreciate that for really giving this value and helping out all the people in the community. Guys, if you want, I know there's so many questions to get to. So if you want, you can send me or you can post the questions. We'll start a thread, the most popular questions to ask Justin or something. And then if I get enough of that, I'll just ask Justin again to come back on. But like I said, this literally could last all day because I see all these questions. So I'll create another thread. You'll put all the questions there, and that way Justin's in the group. He can look at it. We can do another Facebook Live. I'll let you guys know, and he can answer all those questions. But like I said, he's busy helping us over at MB2. So Justin, again, thank you so much for jumping on. Before we jump off, I always like to have all my guests have kind of the last words of what their thoughts are in terms of what's going on right now. So I'm gonna extend the same courtesy to you. So Justin, any kind of last words concerning this whole situation from a legal standpoint or just from a philosophical standpoint to all their viewers out there?
Yeah, I think, one thing we didn't touch on, I've gotten a lot from, our doctor owners is do we have insurance for this? Does this cover this?
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Interruption or loss of income. It has different terminologies. And most of y'all, especially if you have a practice loan, you do have this, even if you don't know that. I'm trying to be positive, but I think insurance generally, they look for ways, they're basically incentivized to not pay. You have to go really in depth in your coverage to look at, are there carve outs for epidemics, pandemics, acts of God, government shutdowns, et cetera. But just wanted to address that really quick. I think advice overall is ask for help, find a partners. these are truly unprecedented times. Everything is on the table right now. You just have to ask. I think, more than ever before, people are being flexible, whether that's, upwards or downwards, kind of from your cycle. And that's not just on a, kind of your employer basis, but also on your personal life, your mortgage, your rent, your credit card bills, whatever it may be, just ask for help and stay up to date. I mean, stuff is changing. That's the hardest part of this. Is I think the two hardest things are the uncertainty because of so much confusion out there, lack of clarity, and then also things just change so rapidly.
Well, Justin, that's a really good advice, and thank you so much for that. And guys, I actually will create another post, and it's to ask any questions to Justin. We'll make a post there. We'll get all those questions, and then I'll invite him back on. Like I said, because this literally could go on all day, right? And he's got us to take care of as well. So again, Justin, thank you so much for jumping on. I appreciate you.
No problem.
And guys, for those who are watching, I got your back. Okay, I'm going to bring on all these people. I told you that we're going to get through this, right? I mean, this is a great community. We're going to get through this. I'm going to bring on all the experts that can help us out. So stay tuned for other experts as well. And we'll see you later.